So this is the introduction of the managerial economics. So simply, if you're going to define the managerial economics from its definition that you are reading in there, it is simply a part of the economic that deals with the different issues and problems of a certain organization with the use of theories and expressing them through mathematical expressions or mathematical concepts itself. So therefore, managerial decision problems has to make use of economic theory and of course decision sciences. Hmm? With these two aspects, you could come up with a certain application of this theory or application of this one so that you could solve a certain problem. Pag sinabi nating application, ito yung mga strategies na pwede natin gawin through the use of theory or through the use of mathematical concept. Now, if you come up with a strategy, then you have to go with your own solutions. With a good strategy, you could come up with an optimal solutions. Now, the theory that you're going to use, that depends on which branches that you're going to encounter, the micro or the macro, the specific area or the general area. Then, uh, which disciplines are you encountering to? Then that depends, and that will not depend, that will determine which mathematical concepts are you going to use. And most probably, we are going to encounter the econometrics. Okay, econometrics is those are the uses of different science, mathematicals that could deal with a certain economic or organizational problems. So we are encountering statistics, algebra's concept, but not trigonometry. We are going also to use the calculus. Some of them will be used regressions because those are the things that we could use to make a certain uh, decision. Hmm? Depende kung anong science. Anong science ang tinutukoy dito, those are the different disciplines that we could use these decisions. With the use of these two, you could make an application out of it so that you could come up with an optimal solution. The 7 disciplines that I am referring to are this. The disciplines would determine the descriptions or the characteristics of the managerial decisions that you're going to use in dealing with a certain problems or dealing with a certain issues. And with those 7 uh, disciplines or 7 examples where we could use managerial decisions, now that depends on how are you going to strategize them. And that how depends on the concepts of the managerial economics. Or when we say this concept is we are referring to how are we going to deal the decisions, how are we going to deal not the decisions, I'm sorry, how are we going to deal with the problems. Okay, we could either use the liberal way, the normative way, the radical way, or the fourth one, which is the managerial economic way. The liberal way is we are making a decision in accordance to the trends in our economy. The normative way, we are dealing with a decision that has to be on a systematic way based on the situation that we are in. The radical way is we are making a decision on a creative way that concerns our functions or a business concern itself if we are on the business way. Okay? The managerial way is this deals with a certain decision that is significant or related to the different principles of our economy. The principles that we are referring to, which was already being introduced to you during your basic economics, is we have the opportunity cost, the markets, the prices, the competitions, the opportunity cost itself, the trade-off, okay, the marginal analysis, and the like. Wherein we was wherein it was classified into three so that we could determine how are we going to use them. The classification is how people decide, how people interact, and how the economy works. So if your decision is more on the choices, more on your own sacrifices, more on your beneficial aspects or the marginal way of deciding, then that means that decision is based on how the people decide. But if your decision is based on uh, organization relationship or based on performance case, or how are we going to have a partnership with the others, then that is what we call how people interact. That's why the best theory that was indicated in here is the trade, because through trade you could actually make a relationship to the others, and by means of that you are making a decision wherein both parties must be better off. Okay, but if your decision has to deal with the functions and rule of a certain organization, of a certain sector, or a certain part of the economy, then your decision has something to do with how the economy works. If, for example, you are making a decision on the standard living of the country, which depends on the capacity to generate goods, then that is actually a government decisions. That means that is a decision on how economy works. If you are making a decision on how many products are we going to produce, at what prices, so that consumers will be satisfied, not only consumers, but only the producers also, then it's still a decision on how the economy works on the business side. Okay? So those are the three principles. So, yung decision natin, nakadepende doon. Okay? Now, if we're making a certain decisions also, our analysis or our study will now be divided into two. It will be based on the micro aspect or based on the macro aspect, which composes the scope of our study. Because our decision must it's either be related to a specific part, which is the micro, or which could also be related to the macro part, which is the general aspect. Okay, so take note of that when it comes to making a decision. Now, if you have those decisions, now you either uh, make a way. Okay, make a way how to do them. Kaya nga meron tayong anim na basic steps in making a decision making. These basic steps could also be used on making a theories. Parang sa science na meron tayong investigatory projects. So what are the different processes? What are the different steps that we follow? Ganun din when it comes to making a decision or making a uh, rules or making a law or making a principle so that we could solve a certain organizational problem or issues. Same is true with this one. We have to follow the basic or the 6 steps of decision making. Define the problem, meaning what are we going to produce? What are we going to address? Ganyan. Determining the objective is that it is true that we cannot have them all. That's why we have to set what is the goal. What if there are a lot of uh, complexities? Anong gagawin natin so that we could attain the objective? So you have to determine it. Okay? Explore the alternatives. This is, we have to set what is our limitation. Even if we set our objectives, if we did not set our limitation, sooner or later we could not obtain our objective. So we have to set our limitations, what are the assumptions that we have to follow so that we could obtain them. Okay? Predict the consequences. This is a certain step na kung saan, is this applicable to that? Will that be long? Is this for the short run? Is this for the long run? So you have to make a certain point na kung saan there is a decision that could only be applicable to a certain point of view. Making a choice is now, since you predicted already the possibilities of your decision, wherein it could be possible only to take point at 6 months, it could only possible to take point for the long run, then which one are you going to obtain. But in making a choices, take note. Ito yung tinatawag nating marginal decision. Which one are we going to sacrifice? If you're going to sacrifice something, are we going to be benefited more to what we are going to obtain than what we are sacrificing? You always have to think of that when it comes to making a choice. So that in the choice that you made, you can perform already the analysis. Okay? By performing the analysis, ito na yung pwede na tayong pumasok sa mga surveys para makita natin kung totoo nga ba ito. Okay? So that if you perform already the analysis, then you could already tell that your decision is good or not. Okay? So if you made already the basic steps, you made already your decisions, you could actually use them in either a private or on a public decision. But take note, in the concept of the managerial economics, the most or the main tenet of the concept is the theory of the firm. So ang decision natin is naka-base pa rin sa theory of the firm. So even if you're in the public, are we still going to use the theory of the firm? Yes. But you have to divert it to the public decisions. Okay? Kasi nga sabi ko sa inyo, we are on a commerce side, so most of our decision must be related to the theory of the firm. Theory of the firm is on the maximization. They have to come up with a decision to maximize the wealth of their own, which you could divert it to the public decision. We have to make a decision that is applicable and that could maximize every sector of the economy. Ganun ba? Okay, so what is this theory of the firm? The theory of the firm is just simply a theory that explains how a certain firm decide in order for them to obtain their primary goal, which is this one. But are there any theories related to this? Of course, which could be the sales maximization, the management utilization, or the satisfying behavior. Are these applicable to the public side? Yes. The sales maximization, we are referring to the service maximization of the public. Management utility maximization is how are they going to maximize their own job so that they could give what is needed more by the public. Okay? Ganyan, diba? So, satisfying behavior is how do we perform so that we could, of course, give their so that they could actually obtain their maximization objectives. So, most specifically, lahat ng decision pa rin natin is involved to the theory of the firm itself. Okay, so that is for the general or the introductional aspects of your managerial